to another video. Today we're going to explore XG and how to create a shot map using StatsBomb data, as well as my own package and Todofcpy to graph the data. Alrighty, so let's just start out with the packages. StatsBomb is a open sourced data package. It's a limited data package. They have a full data package that you pay for, but we can access it for free. To install that, first you need to go pip install statsbombpy. I'll include that link in the description. As well as my own package, as you may have seen from my other videos, I've created a Python package for visualizations of soccer data. You can go and pip install that Todofcpy. I'll include all these in the links in the bottom of the video. But let's go ahead and jump into how we're going to do this. I'm going to walk you step by step through the Python today in order to do this. So once you've got that stuff installed, first we're going to go ahead and import it. You import it. This is sort of the standard naming convention, SB, but from statsbombpy we're going to import SB. I've also got this here. We don't really have to think about this too much. It's just so we don't have any annoying warnings during this tutorial. But the first thing you want to do when you import StatsBomb data is take a look at the competitions. I'm going to go ahead and uncomment that, and we'll run this real quick. So the competitions print out a data frame of information right here, where we can go look at the different competitions. Just look at this as sort of columns over here, but we're going to have to scroll down to see. So you can come and check out, different things. Champions League, they've got open data on. The Women's Super League. We've got a season of the World Cup as well, La Liga. Today we're going to check out the Euros. We're going to go through it for a game in the Euros. And this is line 38. What we really need information here is the competition ID and the season ID. And we see that on line 38, 55, and 43. So that's pretty much how you're going to capture the information about a particular competition. So let me go ahead and comment this out. Rerun that just for ease of look. So you can see here we've got that data. We take we checked out the competitions. We want to check out the matches in that data by passing the competition ID and the season ID. And we store that as a variable called matches. I'll go ahead and print that so we can see what that looks like. All right, so we can look at the Euros for 2020. I believe, yeah, that was the COVID Euros. I believe they played in 2021. I'm not 100% know if I'm remembering that right, but yeah, we can see all the games that actually happened during those Euros. So important here to keep an eye on is match ID. But let's go ahead and come down and look at the columns that have overflowed over here, and we can get an idea of the teams that we're playing. So I want to pick a game that basically is high scoring because I want to, accumulate a large XG so that we can look at sort of what that looks like. I don't want something 1.0001 XG. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this Spain and Croatia game. Right here it's line 7, and remember we want to grab the match ID from this, but let's first take a look. The home score, home in the Euros, but Croatia scored 3 and Spain scored 5. So this is a pretty high scoring soccer game if you've ever watched a game. All right, so we want to see if our XG actually matches up with what that score is, and then graph the shot map so we can, analyze it further. So line 7, I'm going to go look and grab my match ID is right here. That's my number. So I want to grab that. Let's comment this out and run that. All right, so you can see that I've actually passed that match ID down here. So the next thing we want to do is grab the events in a game. That's what the StatsBomb data has for us. It's not a positional data set, although I think they've updated it with some games like that. I need to look into that further. But what it is event-driven data. And this means that, anything can happen, a pass, a shot, a dribble. That's an event during a game, and they log that. So let's actually take a look at that. And you know what? Let's go ahead and comment that out for this particular match. Uncomment that. We'll run it. All right, and we have a list here of all of the different kind of events that they log during a game, and you can see it's quite a bit. So this is a huge data frame, um, theoretically. So what we are interested in is down here. These columns, each of these are going to respond to a column, is our XG. So that's how you're going to grab an XG for a game. Um, StatsBomb provides the XG data. You don't have to come up with some learning algorithm to create a model. It actually provides its own that it's created. So this is really the main important column that we want. I'm going to go ahead and comment that out, and we'll run this, just the events, not the columns, so we can get an idea of what the data frame looks like. All right, so you can see here that we have, what is this, 4,859 events in this game, and you can see that these first few are not a number, so there was no bad behavior. That was not an event. Probably it was the starting 11, so when we come down there, we could probably find that, but you can actually see right here, 4,857, that was a yellow card. That was the particular event. And there might be some other data attached to that right there. I'm not totally sure what would be attached. Player, maybe. 4,587, bad behavior. So the type is also, if it's a yellow card, it's going to also be bad behavior. All right, so you can see that these event files are quite large. So what we want to do is we want to shrink it so that we can analyze it better and just grab the information we need. So that information is going to come out as StatsBomb XG. We want the team that took the shot, and we want the location of the shot. Now, I'm basically filtering any event. There are different kind of shot types. There's like headers, kicks, who knows, other body parts maybe. But I'm filtering based on if it has an XG, then it means it was a shot. So that's how I'm getting it, a shot. Team's going to be important, location. Now this right over here, drop NA. We saw up there's a lot of not a numbers. So if we were to actually just grab this all without dropping things, we're going to grab every single thing right here, but most of these are not going to be shots. They're going to be not a number. So up here, what we want to do is drop all of these values that are not a number and only include the ones that are shots. So let's print that out and see how it changes things. Awesome. So we've got a lot less, obviously, because there's not going to be just continuous shots during the game, but you can see here are all the shots, and just by checking out this information, we've already been able to draw some conclusions that Spain way outshot Croatia. And now if we go think back, score is 5-3. And does that logically make sense? It does make sense. It does make sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you that more shots you're going to take, in general, is going to result in more goals. We are analyzing this based on the quality of the goal, which is what this XG value is. So keep that in mind, but in general, this does make sense. All right, so now that we have our own data frame with this information, only the shots and the location, let's move on to the next step. Awesome, so what we're going to do here is we're going to separate all the shots for Croatia and then come down here and do the exact same thing, separate all the shots for Spain. So I'll take you through this code real quick. Basically, we're going to take our data frame that we've got, shots, and we're going to locate all the shots where the column, right here, this is grabbing a column. It's called different things for different kinds of data scientists and such, but I call it a column, equals Croatia. And then we're going to stick this into its own frame, and let's go ahead and print that out just so you can take a look at what that now looks like. We see that only ones included in this particular one are Croatia. So we've done the exact same thing down here for Spain. I'm not going to run through that code. All right. So the next thing that we want to do would be to grab a total of the XG so we can see the total. And what that's going to do is actually, I'm going to print this right back out so we can reference it. What that's going to do essentially is take all of Croatia, So we got our variable we created for Croatia right here. And we're going to grab this column, and then we're going to sum it all up together. And this is one of the benefits of Python, as well as R and those type of languages. They really do make it a little bit easier for your brain to think about what, logical sense. Grab a column for our data frame, sum it all together, stick it in a variable, that's not strongly typed. You can stick anything in there. It's a lot easier for people coming on to do data science projects for. The next thing, this next bit of code is just going to round it. Essentially, I don't really need a super long string of information. I really just need maybe like 2 decimal points. So I've just rounded this off to 2 decimal points right here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the XG for Croatia. 3.02. Awesome. So we've come down here and we've done the exact same thing for Spain. And let's print that out. And we got a 3.02 XG for Croatia and a 3.51 for Spain. Now let's think back to the scores. We had 3 goals for Croatia and we had 5 goals for Spain. So at this point, I can start to derive some more information. Mainly that Croatia scored statistically just about what is expected. 3.02 is just incredibly close to 3 goals. So that was spot on. They scored, if we're looking at a bell curve here, if you're following my mouse, they scored right in the middle there, just average of what it would be. Now, Spain scored 5 goals in this game, so they were presented with 3.51 worth of XG, which is what typically would be scored based upon the shots they took, which means their finishing was actually better on the day. They sort of exceeded expectations. They exceeded the average. If you're looking at the bell curve again, I wish I had pulled up a drawing app. In the middle is right here. We're looking closer to another quartile away or so. Which is, if I remember correctly, and I watched most of these games, I think Murata had a great day. I remember thinking that, he was going to come back and be the fantastic player he could be, and debatable whether that's ever happened, but that's my own opinion. All right, so now we have what is expected, expected goals. Next thing we want to come down here is I've imported pandas down here just for readability while we're going through this tutorial. We need to import that because what we're going to do is we're going to actually separate this list right here. This is a column of lists, and we need to separate that into different values so that we can then graph it. So this takes the location right here for Croatia, and we turn it into a list, and then we're going to set the columns to be our X value. So that's going to be that first value in any of these. We're going to set a separate column as X values, and then we're going to have the Y values over here. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to stick it in its own data frame. So we've done that for Croatia. We'll do the exact same thing for Spain. So the next part of this is actually going to be the visualization of these shots. And I showed you Spain's visualization there in the very beginning. Let's go through Croatia's real quick. And this is going to include my package, Todofcpy, version 0.3.1. The 1 part is actually a new thing that I'll be showing you today. I realized as I was doing these kinds of analyses and stuff that I didn't have an easy way to actually map a field. I was having to recreate the same function I did over and over. So what I did is I stuck it in my package, so you can just print out a field and then you can do whatever you want to it. It uses matplotlib as your object, so you can do all the normal data science-y graphing things that you could with matplotlib. So first thing is we're going to come here and import from my package Todofcpy.visualization.graph. We're going to import a field. Yep, that makes sense. So we've got our field right here. We've created that. And then we're going to come down here and we are going to actually create the field. Now when you create the field, it will do a standard black field with white lines. I've made it so that you can pass any color you'd like into it in here. The variable is grass for the field, and then the lines is the variable for the lines on the field. Should be self-explanatory. That's good code. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this data frame that we've done, and we're going to pass the column X in for our X value, column in for our Y value. By the way, this is all a scatter plot, because if you think about it, a shot on a field is essentially just a scatter plot. And then the next thing we're going to do is this S variable here in scatter is actually the size of the point. And what I've done here is we've just left it as a standard circle, and I want this circle to represent the size of the shot. So the better XG the shot has, the larger the circle is. I want to be able to visually see, okay, right there, those are better shots. And okay, those are really small circles, so those are really just poor XG shots. It doesn't mean they didn't score on it, it just means that the chances based upon historical data is larger or smaller. So I've multiplied it by, so anyways, the size of the shot equals the amount of XG for that particular line in the frame. So let's say this shot right here is going to be quite big compared to this shot right here. Now, just for our ability for our human eyes to see, I've multiplied it by 150. The scale down here is exactly the same, so you're not getting any kind of cheating with scale. It's just so that we can see better. Otherwise, it was going to be pretty small circles. And then in here, I provided the colors. I've gone ahead and chosen the national team colors so that we can, an extra layer of representation for who we're showing right there. So I'm going to comment out the save fig. We don't need that anymore. Add a title. And so Croatia, and we're going to show it here. All right, and so that we can analyze this a little bit further, let's go over and check out this guy. All right, so here is our XG for Croatia. We can see over here, these are relatively small XG shots. I had a debate with someone the other day, said, why don't we start taking shots for the U.S. men's national team? And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'd rather see a development of our strategy to where we work on getting the ball in here more often and taking our shots in there. And they had a good point that maybe shooting out here will scare defenses into pulling out so we can go into there. But I think the overall goal is to get your players in the box. That's really what we want, because let's just look at how big of a difference these XGs are. And I mean, this is only, this is a heavily defended area, but the chances of scoring are so much bigger. We see Kevin De Bruyne taking a shot out here and ripping open a team. He can do that. I mean, but on the whole, Pep Guardiola is coaching his team to get that ball in here. And through different strategies, season after season, he changes it. I remember 4 years ago, he'd have players drive right here, and they'd pass back right here. It seemed like every game that's what they did. And it's changed a little bit. Got to keep things fresh. But you can see just from this, the XG is the likeliness you're going to score is so much higher. So anyways, if I had to guess where their 3 goals came from, I'm saying this one for sure, this one for sure, and then here or maybe here. I don't know which ones they scored from, but if you're asking me to put money on it, if you're looking at a betting strategy, that's where I'm going with. That's what I'm going with, guys. All right, so cool. That's Croatia. So we see they scored 3 goals. They had maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 shots. We remember that Spain had a lot more. You can check out this code here. Pause if you'd like to and go through the code, but it's the exact same as Croatia. Let's go ahead and check out what Spain looks like. Yeah, so they had a lot more shots. And up here, well, their XG was 3.5. If I can learn how to use my computer. All right, there we go. So 3.5. They had a lot more shots, but what I can see right here is there maybe Croatia had a couple really high quality chances, which probably kept them in the game somewhat. Um, they didn't have nearly as many shots, but what Spain has done right here is the volume of quality shots is high. They're just not as high quality in a couple of them. But maybe that was the strategy. Maybe really the strategy was we don't even really, Spain doesn't have a lot of height. We don't even really need to get in here on a corner and try to go for a header in here. Let's just, once we get in the box, you rip that shot because we've got some really skillful players that can dribble guys. Let's just get into that box and you take the shot. And maybe the strategy was different for Croatia. I'd love to be a fly on the wall and actually hear some of this stuff. But you can see they have a sizable amount of quality shots. I'm not going to read it all, but I think that probably doubles Croatia's amount of shots. They did take some from the outside that were considered shots, but once again, we see those were really low XGs. I would not, if you had to ask me which 5 goals, I seem to remember Murata coming down this side and scoring one, so I'm guessing one in here, and then the rest of them, I'm guessing all in the box. These bigger values, that's my betting strategy. Teams that get in here and take shots, I'm going with them. I'm putting money on them. So anyways, guys, that is really the end of the tutorial. This is an update from an earlier tutorial I did. I wanted to include my package and show you how you can actually go through with very few lines of code and get one of these really awesome XG maps. Use this for your own data analysis stuff or your own betting strategy if you're not in the United States or wherever. Anyways, so this one, I went through in a little bit more detail on the Python and how you could use it. If you're really interested in learning more about the Python and the code, please drop a comment down there and I will take your suggestions and I'll look into making videos about it. If you want to learn more about how to do the code because you're not comfortable with that, I'd be happy to make them, divorced from the soccer world and we'll just go through code. If you want to see more highbrow stuff, whatever you want to call it, where I just talk about strategy, please let me know. I'd be happy to discuss that as well. We got a range of things, or really cool things we can do here. Yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and tune in next time. Thank you guys.